Well, hey there, this is Jerry, and I was getting started on another episode of What's Broke Today. And today I've got a 2011, it's a Honda Accord that he brought over here for me to change the oil. He wanted me to check all his brakes. And when I got here, the rear brakes were just about wore out, and pads were wearing very unevenly. So, well, I say they weren't wearing evenly, they were wore at an angle. So let me get some tools and we'll take this apart. Take this one apart. I got a 12 millimeter to take the caliper off the bracket. And luckily on this car, it's good, even though it has a park and brake cable on the caliper, you can pull this back and say that, and it's being a pain. And get the caliper off of there without too much difficulty from the park and brake. And then we got to get these two spring clips that push the pads apart. And when I pull this out, we've got less than 1/8 of an inch of pad left on the outboard pad, but our inboard pad has probably 1/8 of an inch of pad on one end and a 1/16 of pad on the other end. And of course, I had this apart already because I had to get parts, but this upper pin was not moving very smoothly. And when I pulled it out, this little rubber piece, kind of like a sound dampener that goes on it, is all swollen, and that was hanging it up inside the bracket. So what I had to wait on, since the rest of the caliper appears okay, they actually have a kit they sell that has those rubber pieces, which, I'll compare it later, but it comes with 2 of the rubber pieces and 4 boots. So I'll get this bracket off of here. And a 17 millimeter wrench. Of course, I just put my wrench on there and then just use my dead blow hammer to loosen them up. I'll take those 2 bolts out. And then the top pin is the one that had the rubber piece on it. I don't think the bottom pin, I don't think has one. It doesn't. But the grease that's in there is, it's all, it's not very soft anymore. So since I got new boots, I'm just going to pull these old boots out. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use brake clean and a rag and clean out the holes and get the bracket all cleaned up. Wire brush it where these metal clips go, because my brake pad kit is supposed to have new hardware in it. So, but I'll get this all cleaned up, clean the pins up, and then I'll show you reassembly. And the other thing I got was rotors, because when I measured these, the minimum thickness was supposed to be 8 millimeters, and they are right at 8, maybe a hair under. Okay, now talking about that rubber thing, I don't know if you can see the difference in size. The top one is the new one, the bottom one's the old one, and that is swelled up quite a bit larger than it needs to be. And we can just take our new one and just slide it up over the end of this pin. And when it tightens down, it's about the same outer diameter as the pin. And it's like an anti-rattle device. And then our boots, we actually, got to push them in, and they go actually inside the openings on this caliper bracket. I'm actually need to go get a little screwdriver to get that all the way in. There we go. I'll put the other one in. Main thing is just make sure we get it in there, and it's because there's a groove inside of this caliper bracket that goes into, and then this is actually caliper grease, so I'll put some grease on the pin. Okay, I think grease all coated, so, and then let me lube up the other one. And it doesn't take a whole lot. I see I got too much on there. Let's wipe the excess off. And of course, let's hold it up like it's going to go on there, and that will push through and slide in, and then I'll clean off some of that excess. I'll put that back down in there and get the boot up on there, and then we'll take our other one, and as I push this down in there, the air pressure that's down inside, as I push that in, I just take this boot and just pull it a little bit to open it up so it can let some of that air escape. And you'll hear as you're putting them together, you'll hear that poop poop kind of push the air out. And then just make sure they slide in and out freely. So that's good. I got a rag, wipe my fingers off, because the next thing we need to do is get the rotor up there. And even though I don't have the bolts to bolt the rotor up, I'm still going to line it up like I had the bolts. That way I don't end up with, because it's threaded in there, so you could put a bolt in and actually try and push the rotor off the hub. But I hardly ever do that because I don't have very good luck with it. And then I'm just going to spray my rag with brake clean. And then just spin the rotor. clean any of that cosmoline off that's on it. We'll try this again. Oh no, I didn't knock them both. I just knocked the bottom one off. Okay. I'll put that back up there. And if I put the bracket up there, I'm going to take these metal clips and reinstall them, the new ones. You can do it once you put the bracket up on there, but it's a lot easier here than it is later. And of course, my big fingers don't fit in there real well to push it into its little groove. Now, see if I can use my wrench. There we go. We get that down in there, and then I can put this up here and try and knock those funny little washer, spacer, whatever they are, is off. Of course, I'm going to get them up snug, and then use my dead blow hammer and get them good and tight. And then I've got to push the piston on the caliper back in. And for that, I have this kit here that has a pusher. That's like a backer to go in there. And then the caliper up there, and figure out which. See, in this case, the tool actually, without any adapters, fits, but my kit comes with all kinds of adapters for all kinds of different calipers. So, and once we get it set up in there, we're just going to take and just start turning this. And as I turn it, it's going to basically screw that piston back in. Okay. And once you get all the way in, got to kind of loosen it up. Once it's all the way in, you got to loosen this up and then turn that piston out of the way, so that when we put it down on the pads, that little X is straight in and out. Kind of like so. And then this guy drives on gravel roads all the time, so I'm not going to lube these pads when I put them in the bracket, because if I lube them up, they're just going to collect more gravel dust. And a lot of his brake problems is from gravel dust. And then I'll just kind of reach up here and hold the pads in. There's holes in the outer edge of the pads to put these springs. And see, with the new pads, they don't push quite as hard to spread out the pads. And then we just got to bring our caliper up over the top, push our pins in, and then start our bolts. And once we're done there, the only thing we got left to do is step on the brake pedal a time or two, get the pads up against the rotor, and that's it. Other than let's go do the other side now. Okay, now this side I haven't had a part, so I'll take the 2 bolts out of the caliper. And I slide it out of the way. These old spring clips, I go ahead and put them in the trash to be real quick. Oh yeah, even this is wearing a little bit uneven, but not as bad as the other side. But yes, and it's still the similar thing here. Oh yeah, that one very stiff. And I bet you they got the rubber pieces on the bottom on this side. Now, if he's in a hurry, you could use power tools. Okay. And actually, I'm going to use. Okay. Rotor off. That there. And I'm going to go ahead and push the piston of the caliper back in. So, there. Get it locked into the slots, and then turn that outer nut back. And if you go to turn this and you notice the boot is trying to turn with the piston, just take you a small screwdriver and break the rubber loose from the piston, because the piston should turn without turning that rubber boot. Okay. And the last thing we'll do is look and make sure I got that X square there, and that looks good. So I'm going to go over and get my bracket ready. All right. Let's get our rotor, and let's see. Both holes like so. All right. And we'll get our caliper parts. or bracket rubbers, and put the rubber on the end of the bolt. I'm going to go ahead and put those on, and then my rubber booties in. Amazing how one side goes easier than the other. Now I get my grease out, and hold that up there like that. And I don't know why, but on this side, the one with the rubber piece was on the bottom. So we're just going to go back the same way that I took it apart. So then we can come in here. That tight. And on this car, the wear indicator was on the inside, pointing up. Or I should point up on the top. And put my clip in. Put the second one in. Okay. Okay. And that's all there is to our rear brakes on our Honda, other than going for a test drive and making sure it stops. Got done test driving the Honda, that everything on the brakes worked great. That the only thing I did notice is kind of a, when you'd hit bumps, noise from the left front. And when I got back, I just kind of did a bounce test on the front of the car. And the left front strut, I was kind of binding and not moving freely compared to the right hand side of the car. So I'm gonna let him know about that. That we'll probably be in the near future putting some front struts on it. Rear struts or shocks, or they're all right. You know, he drives on a gravel road, so it's rough on the suspension on the vehicle. But I'll say overall, everything turned out good, stopped good. I do appreciate you watching. Thanks for all those thumbs up for the likes. Appreciate all those comments, and Well, hey, I'm going to give a big shout out to all my subscribers, and I appreciate all your support and everybody that watches. And also, if you're not a subscriber, better join on in because I'll tell them what else you're going to see on What's Broke Today. Thank you.